Okay, so today we're going to be solving quadratic equations using square roots. The practice for your homework is attached to these notes in your Google Classroom account. We're going to be solving quadratic equations using square roots. Just recall that the square root of a non-negative number, in other words, a positive number, the real number b, such as b squared equals a, since 4 squared is 16, and the square of negative 4 is also 16. The square roots of 16 are a positive 4 and a negative 4. Thus, every positive real number has two square roots, one positive, one negative. The positive square root is given by the square root of a, and the negative square root by the negative square root of a. These can be combined as positive over negative square root of a, or you can just write them separately. All right, so find each square root. So if I have the square root of 49, I know that 7 times 7 is 49, so I'd have a positive 7. I would also have a negative 7. The square root of 25 is positive 5. It is also negative 5. Square root of 12. Is 12 a perfect square? No, it is not. If we were to do that, we would come up with a decimal. So when I take and I plug in the square root of 12 into my calculator, I get 3.464. And it may ask you to round to the nearest tenth. It may ask you to round to the nearest hundredths. But because it was 3.410 and it just kept on going, rounding it to the nearest tenth, I get 3.5. So it's approximately, it's not going to be exact. You can also say not a perfect square. Okay, then when I have it in fraction form, remember, this is the same as taking the square root of the numerator over the square root of the denominator. The square root of 16 is 4. The square root of 9 is 3. And remember, they were positive and negative. Okay, so we have this square root method where we have ax squared minus c equals 0. And knowing that if I take and move the c over with the 0, we might be able to square root the answer. So here I have ax squared equals 81. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going, well, nope, I don't have to move it. I was thinking when it's bigger. So the square root of x squared is x. The square root of 81 is 9. This is one where I need to do some movement because I need to get this over here. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. Y squared equals 49. The square root of y is y. The square root of 49 is 7. And this is going to be a positive or negative. Going back to this, positive or negative. I have 3x squared minus 7 equals 68. If I take 3x squared, add 7 to both sides, that would be 75. X squared is not by itself, so we're going to divide by 3. X squared equals 25. Square root both. X would be equal to a positive or a negative 5. Let's do the first one in our example. I have d squared minus 5 equals 31. If I add 5 to both sides, I get d squared equals 36. Is 36 a perfect square? Yes. So then I would square root both. D squared would be, square root of d squared is d. The square root of 36 is a positive or negative 6. Okay. If you have any questions, please let me know.